I do like to get in trouble.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I mean, that good trouble, necessary trouble thing is the reason why that resonates so much is, one, it is good to make powerful people feel uncomfortable.
I'm very woo-woo, so
Are you woo-woo?
Yes, very, very. Like I, believe in different dimensions and the multiverse. I'm like I just think that's all true.
Wait, Spider-Man multiverse?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was also in Everything Everywhere All at Once. And then there was another movie too that they had it in. And that's like my spiritual belief that there are all these different dimensions and we exist in different.
Really?
Yeah. And our like energy and soul exist in different forms.
You don't find that stressful at all?
No, I find it reassuring and interesting, actually.
Really? Because that is genuinely surprising because you've seemed so good at understanding this dimension. You don't think there's... Really?
I think this dimension is so hard. I think
I'm not
it's
saying
so
it's not
hard to be a
but
human,
you seem
right?
to understand it so well.
To me, it feels more that there's an expansiveness that goes beyond just what's in front of us, this sort of linear, this horizontal experience here. And I think it's more about the vertical and the spiritual. And I mean, think about, right, we only use 2% of our consciousness, right?
It just makes me feel tense thinking about that.
John, welcome to Reclaiming.
It's great to be here. It's great to see you.
No, thank you so much. And the tables are turned.
I know. I don't love it. But it feels like the least I can do. Seeing you sitting with questions on your leg really feels like turnabouts to me.
Yeah. Well, I tell everybody that it looks so thick, like there's so many, because it's in 18.5 because I'm old. So
I know. I'm so much more comfortable in your position than I am in mine.
Well, I was thinking, we first met, I think it was the first time we met was when I did in 2019. So last week tonight did an episode on public shaming.
We did.
And you invited me to be interviewed. It took me only a year to say yes.
Yeah.
I was terrified. It actually was my brother who really reassured me. And because I loved your show, but he said, if you go back and watch, John never takes the piss out of his guests, like on the rare occasions that he interviews someone.
Yeah.
And so.
I remember you saying that. I appreciate that he kind of vouched for me in that way because the reputation before then was like, as a Daily Show correspondent, it's mean, right? It's often it's very reductive. You kind of turn to the sociopathic side of your brain because you're living in the edit the whole time. Whereas when we did the longer interviews on last week tonight, my whole relationship to conversations changed then, so that I wasn't looking to get someone anymore. I was looking to try and explore something. And also, I haven't done many. You're one of the very, very few interviews that I've ever done.
Well, you did an amazing job. I mean, you did. You did. No, and it was funny because I was thinking as I was picking out my outfit, how, I don't know if you remember this, it was such a great moment when we were just about to start and my publicist of 10 years runs out and she's like, whispers in my ear, your Spanx are showing through your pants. And I had to go take my girdle off, and it was like, come back. Okay, thank God,
What I remember is that I met you you came to
office.
Talk to me first.
Right.
And of course that's easier.
Yeah.
Right? Because then we're just talking.
No
and
cameras.
It doesn't feel like there is something that you need to defend yourself against when that thing being a camera.
Yeah.
And so I remember how fun it was to talk as human beings and then to watch it. I knew how nervous you were. Yeah. And it was, aside from the Spanx aside, it was interesting seeing you put defenses up, those well-constructed defenses. And it felt like as part of our conversation, I wanted to break some of those down, but that's not a...
But you did.
Kind of abrasive act.
I feel like you did. Didn't you feel like you did?
Definitely. But I also felt like it can feel predatory, right? Trying to break someone's defenses down. Depends what you're trying to do it for.
Right.
And it felt like when we laugh together. Like,
Yeah.
that is an instant connection that actually does break down.
Yeah.
So the moment that we were laughing, it felt like we were able to.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think when I did my TED Talk, I had this just sort of an instinct of like, everybody has to laugh at some point early on because there's just too much collective tension.
Of course.
And I had been advised by a few people that they thought the joke I told, because it was sort of connected to sex, to this young guy picking me up. And I just thought, I'm going to go for it. Because it was an organic moment when it actually happened. And I thought, it's important. I brought this mug here. This is my mug.
I know.
That I brought because I had it.
I have this mug.
You still have it? Oh, good.
I have this mug. I see this mug every day. This is behind my. This is on my shelf behind me at work. I see this every morning.
Amazing. Yes. Yeah, but so I just loved. In the interview, you had asked me about had I ever thought about changing my name, and so then you revealed to me that your scandal name that you would change your name to was Alvin Oliver.
Yeah.
And if not Alvin, it would be Jax, right? So
I can't even believe that I thought I could carry off the name Jax as a joke back then.
But you could.
I don't. That's really nice of you. But I don't think Jax is writing checks my personality can't catch.
Jax with a CKS, but maybe not JAX, right?
Right. That is a really nice way of modulating that ambition. Yes.
Also, I was excited to sit and talk to you because I wanted to thank you too, because the episode really became a part of my reclaiming journey.
Oh, I'm glad.
And so, it was 2019 and my Vanity Fair essay had been 2014. And so it was like 5 years later, you have such a young audience that it was sort of this new crop of young people who I think either didn't know my name or only knew of me as the chick in the rap songs and didn't know my story.
Yes, that's right. But I will say I'm also very, very grateful that you did it, because I know that it was not an easy decision to make. It's like, as part of that process that you were clearly going through, like a TED Talk and a Vanity Fair op-ed is precise, right? And it's all on your terms. You can get word to word, moment to moment. You can control all of it. And so I was extra grateful that you were willing to put yourself in the position where you would be under less control. And I do think it was a massive act of trust on your part. And I am very grateful that you thought we were worthy of that trust, because I know your trust had been broken in the past.
But you helped restore that.
All right. All right.
And
I'm really glad.
It was, thank you. It was great. And I appreciated that you acknowledged that there had been some times you had told jokes too, which I think for me it was really meaningful, because I hadn't heard the jokes, thankfully, but whatever jokes I have heard, that when someone takes responsibility and apologizes, you actually end up like sort of, it's not just back to neutral where you were, it's more positive because there's a value that, I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes total sense. And I think I felt there was going to be more utility, especially in terms of an audience that we were talking to be coming from a position where I was not unimpeachably clean. Right. And so it felt like there was a more interesting conversation to have, because so few people are, right? So you're not trying to talk from the high ground, especially in comedy, right? Where even in the larger part of that piece, before even your interview came in, comedy can be a blunt instrument. And so the no bullying campaign that you were doing at that time was so kind. Comedy is often not kind. I think I might be inherently less kind than you are in some areas. So it almost felt like the shades of grey there. I guess I sometimes might end up being meaner in comedy than I would be as a human being. Even I went back to look at it, and that's we were using a couple of examples before we got to you about what was appropriate territory. That Olivia Jade thing gets really grey, right? And I think where a comedian and a human being falls might be different there. And so we were trying to take ownership with exactly where we were at that time. Looking back at it, I think I am still there, but I think it is completely reasonable to think, oh no, I'm going to fall on the human being side here.
Yeah.
And you're going to sound right.
Well, I executive produced a documentary that came out in 2021, and we were looking at exactly that. We examined a whole bunch of different stories where people had been publicly shamed, everything from a guy who was driving home from work and had his hand out the window, was making a sign that someone, I think it was like might have been white supremacy. I don't even remember now. That's embarrassing. But it's just I think those varying degrees. But the other part of it that I think feels always important to me is that we don't quite understand the human cost of the shamings and how long the tail can last. That the stories moved on, the headlines have moved on, and that person is still
but I think you're totally right. And even the fact that like you find yourself going, I can't even remember. I feel the same way about the Olivia Jade thing. Like I'm struggling to remember all of those details.
Right.
And I remember taking a position at the time that I thought it was going to be okay. I still think where I was under the moral code that I have as a comedian, which is going to be different.
Yeah.
Right. I think I can defend it. Now, I don't know if I can defend it successfully to everybody, because I think I probably can't. I think I can defend it to myself.
Right. And that, I think ultimately it is about being able to look yourself in the mirror. But I think that I imagine it's a really hard thing to do actually as a comedian of finding that line.
Yeah.
Because if you meet the person, if you go into the human experience and you see someone for all their multitudes,
Yes, you are totally right.
Yeah.
It is much easier to be a bit of a dick, which I think I can be in comedy if you don't personally know anyone. I don't go to many places or parties. As it happens, I'm not a social butterfly in that way anyway, but it does feel helpful not to have friends in the worlds that you are criticizing.
Yeah.
And there's to the extent to which you just have to have some kind of internal barometer and hold yourself to it and know with that example, the Olivia Jade example, I think I stand by it. With others, and I can't think of any now because we do think about it, I might look back and go, oof, I think I've changed my mind on that.
Is you said you don't have any examples that come to mind?
I'm sure there'll be ones I would look back on and wince. I can't think of any now, but that is definitely not to suggest they don't exist.
Right.
I'm sure you could show me something and go, oh, fuck.
No,
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, totally
I wouldn't
fair.
do that now, and I wish I didn't do it then. We try and bake that in.
I think there were several examples, but then also you were kind of my champion in court too by calling out Jay Leno and making that amazing Dr. Seuss mashup from the places you'll go. I think it was the places you can go fuck yourself.
Jay Leno. Yes.
Jay Leno by John Oliver.
That's right. That's right. You were not involved in that.
No.
I was pretty.
But
rapt,
I would have been totally involved. I would have gone. Let's make it bigger.
I think my particular problem at that time as well was that he had just been, if I'm remembering this right, he'd just been on TV calling for more civility in comedy, and I guess that goes back to a little bit what I was talking about. That it felt like, well, let's not pretend that we are blemishless here, right?
Me too. I tell jokes too. But
everybody does, right? It's just we all tell jokes privately, right? I think we at the show probably spend more time than people might imagine thinking about how a joke sounds. Sometimes when we're just reading it out just to our staff, which is when we first say it out loud, because sometimes it's different out loud than on the page. Also, you can hear the kind of response that you get. The sound of a laugh sometimes recontextualizes a joke. So when you're doing stand-up, you're often like trying material, and sometimes you can think, oh, I'm not sure you took that joke the way that I was intended. That sounds a little like the roar of the mob to me. I don't know if I like that. So you might calibrate the joke accordingly. So, to go back to Jay Leno, that I was also irritated that he had taken a moral position that week against the other late night shows. None of us are perfect, but I did not like being lectured by him.
No. I think, and neither did I. But, I've sort of now wear this as a badge of honor. There are only 9 other people, some of whom are not around anymore, who can say this. But, when he finished his show, some some organization, did some research, and the top 10 targets of his from the span of his show, I was number 9 or 10.
Wow.
But I was the only person on there who had not chosen to become a public person. And so that's why for me, when you sort of called him out that way, it felt meaningful. It felt meaningful to me and to my family. You know,
good.
I mean, I of course didn't hear from him. But what is interesting to me is that, and I saw it so much in that episode and meeting you and being interviewed by you, is how important social justice is to you. And I know just from the research preparing to chat that people sometimes mistakenly call you a journalist, which you push back against.
Not me, yes.
Yeah. So do you think sometimes that maybe it's because like social justice is something we often think of for a journalist or an activist or maybe some good lawyers or something? And
maybe. I think, my relationship with that term is complicated because I think I am not a journalist. And the only reason I refute that is not to evade responsibility. It's that I haven't earned that title, right? That's not something that I am. I've not trained as a journalist. I've not worked as a journalist. I will say where it gets much grayer than the binary of this isn't journalism is that we have a lot of journalists that work for us in our shows.
Yeah.
So what we are doing collectively has a journalistic component almost all of the time. Sometimes, rarely, but not never, we engage in original journalism. Like we have to do 30 shows a year. It would be impossible to do research these stories from scratch. So we are standing on top of other people's reporting most of the time. But there are occasional times when we will want to get an answer to something and it has not been answered yet. So we will go and try and find the answer to it, even if the question is who is making death penalty drugs. That is something that one of our researchers took it upon himself to find out. Didn't even tell us about it. He just in our end of the year meetings, he just said, I've been doing this thing. I don't know if we want to do this on our show, but I think I've found out where they're sourcing these lethal injection drugs. And if we're not going to do it, I should probably give it to an outlet that's going to use it.
Wow.
And so we did.
Wow.
But yes, I have a complicated relationship with that only because we take all the responsibilities of journalism. It's just I personally am not it. I'm the unfortunate face of a lot of people's work.
Oh, I think that's really interesting. I hadn't seen the episode with the death penalty drugs. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why anyone would.
Because I think that's one of the things that's kind of magical about your show is that
it's so fun. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, especially in 2025. Such a good time.
Yeah.
Such a good time. But I just think that there is, I know they call it the John Oliver effect in terms of, I think, bringing attention to issues that then lead to activism and social change, right? So I think people kind of come to your show and come to your perspective and the perspective of your team through you, however you want to say it. But I think it's driven by you. And people come and they're ready to hear something that they may have not thought about.
Yes. That, I think, is true. And we don't take that lightly at all. There's a reason that we don't say what our show is going to be about that week beforehand. And it's normally because it's not like it's going to drive viewers to it. Right?
Yeah.
It's not like anyone's going to say, I have to stay up or be back home in time to watch 25 minutes on corn this Sunday night or on lethal injection drugs or on, mobile home financing.
Right.
On its surface, it's often extremely boring and not something you might naturally be interested in. What we have found is that almost everything's interesting as soon as you start digging into it. And
it's interesting. I feel like my mom sort of taught me being raised that you can learn something interesting from everybody you meet.
Definitely.
And so I think that makes sense in that way of that curiosity that's there. It's interesting. But I mean, that was happening early on because I think wasn't it the 5th show that was the FCC episode, right?
It might have been the 5th, yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty, I know you had been on the Daily Show, but that's a pretty like short runway to get to a point where people are trusting and listening and actually fucking doing something.
Yes.
Right?
And I think what we learned from that experience was not to ask people to do something that we didn't want them to do.
Okay.
I'm slightly blundered into it because, like you say, go to this website, people do and it crashes. And you think, oh, shit,
Yeah.
we might actually be operating with slightly more responsibility than is perhaps ideal, right? It's nice to behave irresponsibly when you're a comedian.
Yeah.
And when you realize that you should not direct people's attention to something that you don't want attention on, that is worth thinking about in terms of your motivations and the consequences of it.
Are you really active on social media
No.
at all? Okay. Because, I mean, I think something I had to learn was you have to be really mindful if you clap back at people.
Yeah.
Of just, you know, if you have a larger community or you have a public platform that even though they can, you know, really have fucking pissed you off and said something horrible, that it's just kind of the you know, the punishment's not worth the crime. And so when you can bring attention to something, right?
You're totally right. That is the same. I don't use social media in that way, but I definitely use the show in that way. And I probably I think you might be a better person than me there. But I do think about it in terms of the clapbacks, but I do, you know, when making sure that, like in that reductive sense of punching up, I do like do that. I do like to get in trouble.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's an amazing quote. I do like to get in trouble.
I do. And
Good
when it
trouble,
comes to work,
right?
Good trouble. Yeah, that's right. Well,
Yeah.
That's right. Strong John Lewis drop there.
Yeah.
I mean, that good trouble, necessary trouble thing is the reason why that resonates so much is, one, it is good to make powerful people feel uncomfortable if you feel like they are over comfortable. And two, like, you can get away with more sometimes in comedy than you can without it. As you have found, like in terms of like because you're funny and you have that ability to connect with an audience that way and to diffuse significant tension that way, it can be a blunt instrument, comedy, but it can also be a scalpel.
Yeah.
And I think we try and use it both ways.
Right. I mean, it's interesting for me. I like to think I was always funny, but I definitely 1998 sharpened my gallows humor for sure.
No shit.
I mean, and my family, I think it's how we survived. And so that shaped my humor for me.
You know what you're thinking about? One of the only other people I've ever interviewed other than you is the Dalai Lama.
Oh, well, you know, the Dalai Lama and me.
I mean, the only reason I wanted to, not the only reason, but the main reason I wanted to talk to him was that he's funny, which you would not think.
No, but he's
Really funny, and I'd read, really likes making people laugh. So I thought, I think we might be able to have a conversation then. And that was in my head all the way through 2 flights to get to Dharamsala in India, and then a long drive up a mountain. And then you see more and more monks walking up the hill to see him. And I did start to get that sense of, oh no, I've just flown around the world to fuck with this guy. I hope this is going to be received in the way that I would like it to be received, because this could be real bad. And when he came, I remember that day, a group of people had walked from Tibet to come see him. And so he was late for the interview because he wanted to talk to all of them. And all they were saying was, please don't die. You can't even fathom the pressure that he's under. I'm watching this happen thinking, had a bunch of questions like this on my own thinking, some of this feels like it's in questionable taste right now. But the first thing he did when he came in was he grabbed the sound guy's nose. He said, you got a big nose. Grabbed him like a parent. And then he looked at me and tickled me. And I think, yes, it was a little odd, but I think he was trying to do a little of what we were talking about, breaking down, like people are treating him like a deity, and he needs to get rid of that context to be able to have a conversation. I was still pretty nervous. It took me like 20 minutes to calm down. We didn't use anything from the first 20 minutes. It was only when I made him laugh that the whole thing seemed to actually make sense. But I was not thinking.
So in that moment, did you start scrapping material?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. because it was, oh, actually, I can just make fun of it. He is this is going to sound very offensive, right? But it is a ridiculous figure. Like to be on the receiving end of that much worship is absurd for a human being.
Right.
One could argue. And so to be able to speak to him like two human beings, you have to kind of crack that.
Yeah.
And so only through making fun of him, like relatively off-color jokes, I say relatively because I'm talking to the Dalai fucking Lama. He may have sworn as well in it.
Did you keep that in?
I can't remember.
Okay.
But
I'm gonna go watch.
Remember but it was the only way that conversation made any sense was when we were joking and joking about hard things like how the Chinese government felt about him, when he was going to die, like dark things. But the only way to have that conversation in a way that felt like it was going to illuminate anything was gallows humor.
Yeah. It's interesting. Did he talk at all about that he uses humor to connect?
Not in that interview, but I had seen him talk about it in another one, which is where I thought, I think I've got cover.
Yeah.
If that's how you feel,
right,
we'll be fine. If it's not how you feel in something you said, we're in big fucking trouble right now.
Right. I mean,
I'm about
curious,
to cause the international incident.
Yeah. Did he say why he said yes?
I don't know why he said yes at all. But it was quite fun fucking with him. Yeah. It was, and it felt like the best way to tell the story that we were going to tell, to make him seem like a human being. Because
he is.
A deity is inhuman,
I mean,
right?
I guess, yes.
Yeah.
But if he really were inhuman, then he wouldn't die.
Exactly.
So
he is going to die, and the Chinese government really want that to happen. Yeah. And that is both really dark and darkly funny. But yeah, I don't think anyone else had made fun of him that day. So I think he was starving for it.
He was, exactly. Shoot me up with some humor, please. How do you, we're living in dark times now. How do you personally, do you make yourself laugh? How do you, do your kids ask hard questions about that?
Oof. I think those hard questions are probably coming. I think they haven't been that hard yet, or so hard that it didn't feel like there was an answer that they'd understand at the other end of it. As they get a little older, it'll get tougher, I think. In terms of how I personally cope, I guess I'm very grateful to have the resource of the show so that we can find ways to put things into some kind of context, even if it is just for ourselves, right? Even in really difficult weeks, there is a point to us turning up to work, even if it's to kind of explain things to each other. I think one of the many reasons I was very scared at the start of the pandemic was I was getting cut off from that. And I don't know how I'd have got through that pandemic, as hard as it was, keeping the show going. Technically, physically getting it done. Having to do it each week, having to kind of shape the experience of living in the world each week was, I think, kind of life-saving for me in terms of, and having something that that had to be funny, however subjective that is, but that had to have laughter in it. And I was worried at times, especially because for the first time I couldn't hear any audience, right? I'm just alone in a room. So it's hard to know if you are actually connecting with people the way that laughter normally does, right? And, as you're seeing the death count rise on CNN, you do think, does anybody actually want this? So as it gradually became clear that something was connecting, it was a massive relief. Because I don't know what I'd have done in a room on my own. It's
interesting. I've spoken to a few people on the show where, I think this being a public person and your work being connecting to so many, that during the pandemic was a real, obviously it was hard for everybody, but a real shift of like in self-identity of just that kind of question of who am I if this doesn't ever come back,
Yeah,
but
sure.
It's, I think what you did and SNL did, I think it was so important because the truth is nobody was really looking out for our mental health. Everything was focused on but like laughing is, laughing really, the cliche, it is the best medicine. It can be the thing that brings you together, it's, and to kind of, I think like you even release different chemicals and hormones and all sorts of other things in your body when you smile, when you laugh, so it is all of those things.
And I think for us, the most reductive thing was we just wanted to keep the staff paid, right? Because, so it's like you got to do a show, whether that thing has any value, comedically or otherwise. It doesn't really matter. You just have to keep payroll going. It gets that reductive. Once you've done that, then I think I realized that it's become, healthy or otherwise, to such an extent, a coping mechanism for the world. If that had got taken away, oh boy.
Well, and your show's been on HBO since 2014, right?
Yeah.
So, and they, like, even during the pandemic, they just always kind of let you do your own thing?
Yeah, they didn't have any other television happening. So I guess we served a purpose there. It was not, it didn't look like the Prestige TV. It was just a guy in a white box. But no, they stood by us. And I'm massively grateful. And I hope that it was, I find it quite hard to watch our show at all. But those episodes I would not run back to watching. Not because I think that they were bad, more that that was hard.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I had I had a talk that I was supposed to give early on in the pandemic. And so obviously I couldn't travel and people couldn't come to do it. And so they'd come up with this thing of, they'd like gotten a huge room and everybody social distanced, and I gave my talk to camera. So I understand that feeling of like, oh, is everybody falling asleep? Or, of just the moments of connection. It's very hard if you are someone who connects in that way. It's very hard.
You're just alone. If there was something like, it would seem like, I hope my kids don't remember much about that, because I was just going into an empty room, ranting, talking to myself. Now, technically there was a camera there, but even then I was going nuts because it was we didn't have our prompter hooked up to our prompter operator early on, so it was just a voice recognition software, and it was only properly calibrated with an American accent, so it would freeze all the time. It couldn't understand me. So I'd have to kind of have it enough in my head that I could read ahead and hope it catch up. It was so bad, and I through the eyes of a kid, I cannot imagine what they were thinking, that Dad's going into that room to talk to himself for an hour and a half, intermittently swearing, fuck, it's not working again. Fuck. And I tell them they can't swear.
Exactly. Do you feel like, if you look back, I know you were born in England and apparently played the viola. Is that, do you still play it?
No.
Okay.
I absolutely don't play it. That was a miserable experience because I was so bad at it. And as I got better at it, I realized just how bad I was. So as I went kind of through all the grades, I think you have to grade 8. And the problem is when you start getting given real great pieces of music and you can't make it sound the way it is in your head, the disconnect, I found that beyond frustrating. The rage I used to feel, like trying to make it sound, and I remember there was a girl who was learning the violin with me. I remember she was called Emily Brown.
Okay. Hi, Emily.
Hi, Emily. Amazing violin player.
Yeah.
And she had it in a way that I did not have it. We both nominally could do the same things with our fingers and bow. She made it sound so wildly different. So I hated it with a passion that I've not often felt from many other things in my life. I wanted to smash it into a wall because all it was an embodiment of my limitations.
What's interesting to me about that too is that you have to have such great sense of timing to do comedy. And so that's
true. And I couldn't get my body to do it. I couldn't communicate through it. My head would know how, I know how this is supposed to sound. And I couldn't get my body to get the sound out of this thing. And the harder I worked, the further away it was clear that I was. And yet comedy, I felt, from when I first did it, kind of had a weightless sense to it. Even if you are, and it was also a way of coping with the world. Like what you were saying about like you and your family using it to get through it, that feels probably monumentally true to me, right? Like I don't know how it becomes the only way to dig yourself out of a hole sometimes, I find.
Yeah. No, I mean, did you have, I know sometimes it's like cliche about, right, the comedians and the pain that they feel behind. I mean, did you have those kinds of experiences growing up or as an adult?
I guess the interesting thing is I use it to get through personal things. I tend to find comedy to be the only way, or like joking around with people to be the only way to get through that stuff. However, the comedy I do professionally is not that personal. It's I keep that apart.
Oh, that's interesting.
So you find a lot of stand-ups who plunder themselves for material. I tend not to do that, even though in moments of personal difficulty, comedy is almost and joking around is almost the only way to get through it, with true gallows humor. But in, neonatal intensive cares and places like you find those nurses can be really funny.
Yeah.
Because how are you not, like, if you're not, how are you going to get through the days?
Yeah.
I don't know. I actually genuinely don't know the answer to that. I don't know how people that are not compelled to joke around about dark things, I don't know how you get through the darkness.
Right. Yeah. I think I had an experience where people really close to me, their firstborn son had a very difficult birth and was touch and go, and they were in the hospital for a while and had just come out and needed to do the bris. And I was like bringing some stuff. So I brought one plate that had pigs in blankets and another plate that had just the little hot dogs. And I had a before and after sign in front of each. And I remember I thought it was so funny. I made myself laugh. And then I was walking in and I thought, God, I hope this is not a mistake, because there is that sense of darkness,
Yeah, and I can understand, I think, theoretically, why someone might look at those two plates and think, why are you doing this? What's wrong with you? My only instinct is, if you're not going to do this, what's the alternative here?
Right, yeah.
When things are this heavy, do you not want to find a way to lighten it? And I think some people don't, and maybe they're healthier. I don't know. It is so antithetical to the way that I interact with life.
Well, and then also, do you think that some of this, I have a lot of British friends. I lived in the UK. I went to graduate school there. I have a very British sense of humor. So do you think some of that comes from being British or
it might
being a man? So, a man raised in a certain time, I think, I don't know how you guys are raising your sons, but I think there's these younger generations, it's like they're being raised to explore their emotions, right?
Oh, definitely. And it's that is very different. Like I think, you're totally right. Those are the two really key ingredients there, of being British and male. There's not really a lot of introspection historically and traditionally at that point of my childhood to that. Now, as I look back, there's probably reasons for that. Like my parents were of a generation where their parents were in the Second World War. Yeah. You're growing up being, I think, told not to talk. There wasn't, in my experience, not a lot of discussion about what had happened to them in that war. And so it was like, keep calm and carry on to a pathological extent. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And there is a real argument for that during wartime, right? But maybe once that war's stopped, the keep calm and carry on things starts to get perhaps a little less,
Yeah.
not so much of a good idea. So yeah, I think absurdity and comedy was the only way I got through my childhood. The only way I'm currently getting through this phase of my life, and it's the only way I'll joke myself into the grave.
Right. What?
I think I'm just practicing avoidance on a ludicrous scale.
Avoidance and dissociation. I mean, we've all become like, we all have a PhD in dissociation now.
Although I do think, actually, you know what, I'm thinking of you like with those two plates. I found my granddad was really funny.
Okay.
And when he was he looked ridiculous. He kind of had BFG like ears, massive ears. Looked ridiculous. Loved comedy. Was like a really taught me how to misbehave as a kid. And I remember when he died. The last time I saw him was he was clearly dying, and my dad had left to get the car, and he was on the ground floor, so I climbed out the window rather than say goodbye, like to walk through a hedge. And the last thing I remember him doing is chuckling to himself, and then he said, "You're an idiot." That's the last thing he says to me. So I only say that in context for his funeral. It was not very funny for a long time,
right?
Or felt like for too long, and it didn't feel to me like that was actually representing the person that he was. So I did a little speech then about his life, got some laughs, felt like it was going well, probably got one or two too many laughs after that point. I remember looking at my mum's face with the kind of look of, that's enough now. You think, oh, come on.
Wait, how old are you at this point?
At this point, I was probably 21 or 22.
Okay, so he had a really big influence in your
huge
life,
impact.
your formative years.
Yeah, and it didn't feel like this was not, to me, to have no laughter in that room. And I get that it's sad, funerals, but laughter in funerals can sometimes be the thing that makes the memory of that person the most alive in a way.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I am my happiest when I'm laughing.
Yeah, me too.
And I think I really can't abide people in my life who don't make me laugh. Like, it's just, you just kind of not worth my time.
Yeah.
And the inside jokes that you develop with friends over years, and the ways that it is, I think 1998 was obviously hard, but then I had this like dark decade. And my friend Anne, during that time, she was always doing lots of pranks and, different things to make me laugh. I mean, she's that way anyway. Yeah. But she had sent me this, she would send me funny videos when I was in really dark places, and I would get so fucking annoyed. Yeah. Like, I don't want to look at this, it was very offensive, like to many people, not to me, but, or to her. But it was this video. Oh, it's so awful. I'm going to get canceled. But it's like bad women drivers. Okay. And there are all these bloopers of bad women. And it has this music of like, nair, 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 nair. And it was just this, but I would laugh. Yeah. And then when I would finish laughing, you can't go back to like the point of how sad you were before, right? So it's just like, you just don't fall that dark in that moment. So in that moment, it shifts your resonance and your experience. And, it's so interesting because I think like, I'm thinking about you being in your grandfather's room, and that like, do you think there was a part of you that thought, oh, it's funnier to actually leave through the window?
Definitely. I thought it would make him laugh. I think I knew this might be the last time I was going to see him. So you could probably analyze that two ways. One, that's spectacular level of avoidance of a real moment. I would argue that it was better that way. Yeah. Better because, who knows what you're feeling as an old man in that situation, knowing that your life is coming to a close. Yeah. But,
or how many times you're laughing.
Yeah, and to your point, if you get a laugh, if you laugh at your grandson who's being an idiot, call him an idiot and laugh, maybe you're down to, you're not as low. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. No, it's so interesting. And then, I did not know that you went to Cambridge. Yeah. Smarty pants. Yeah. No. Like anybody who goes to the Oxbridge, right?
I mean, I will say there are some monumental fools in that place. So yeah, okay. I don't think it's necessarily a cosign on anything. No, not really. No. Okay. I found that actually a little more difficult at the time, partly for a class reason. Okay. riddled with class tensions in England.
Yeah.
Utterly riddled with it, right? And so the way I'd grown up in the school that I went to was not the kind of gilded passageway to Oxford and Cambridge the way that these private schools
Like Eton
were. Or just any of the kind of really nice private schools. It was a whole world I had not encountered much. So I hadn't met people like that. And so I was pretty uncomfortable for most of my time there. The only thing that I loved, going back to what we were saying, was that was doing comedy. Was I found the Cambridge Footlights, which was a sketch group that like famously Monty Python came out of. Oh my
I didn't
God.
know that.
Yeah, that.
Oh my gosh.
That was realizing, shit, I think this is what I want to do with my life.
Okay.
I did. There was a friend of mine at the time, Richard Iowadi. He and I wrote a show together, and I do remember walking off stage after the first night and looking at him, like with both of us with wide eye, and having that sense of, oh no, I think I want to do this.
Right, like a drug, like a gateway drug.
Fully like a drug. I think this is going to take over my life. Let's hope
oh my gosh,
it works out well.
Yeah. So you, and how did, were your parents okay with that, or did they?
They were, to their credit. I think they were. I think they were. They never suggested that I stop.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So
they had a lot of faith. That's pretty amazing, because I think there are a lot of people who want to go into the arts whose parents just, have especially if you're saying that you didn't come from this life of money, right?
I remember my dad actually at one point saying this when I was making a living from it, when I admire the fact that you never gave up. And the crazy thing was, it didn't even occur to me. And it was odd hearing him say that. It was almost charting, oh, so there were multiple points that you saw, like, you might want to pack this in now. And that just my head didn't go there.
I want to ask just quickly, because I did not know that you had worked with Armando Iannucci.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it says about me that my two favorite political shows are The West Wing and The Thick of It.
Yeah, that's pretty much yin and yang, right, when it comes to representational politics.
So did you feel like was your humor at that time, did that just fit in? People who had, like Americans, right, know him through Veep. So
yes,
right.
I actually found it was even before The Thick of It. I loved a show that he did called The Day to Day, which was an adaptation of a radio show on the hour that was about it was like a news broadcast, but it was very, very. It was all fictitious, but it was done very straight-faced. It was really good, and watching that as a kid, I think I probably had a kind of reaction that you would have, like to hearing a band that you love for the first time, thinking, "Oh my God!" I would tape it off the TV, watch it again and again and again, the way you would listen to a song. So yeah, he was a massive influence on me, and to the point that actually this connects a little to what we were just saying. I remember he did this show called Gash I think it was for one series on Channel 4, and it was just I think it was like a our version of midterm election kind of, and he invited me to be on it. I remember at one point I made him laugh. I remember watching him laugh, and it was a real laugh, and thinking, oh, if I just made like my Jimi Hendrix laugh, I think I'm good now. Like I think I'm playing with the house's money from here.
Okay.
Because if I've made that guy whose comedy was so important to me, if I can genuinely make him laugh, I don't think I'm crazy to be doing this.
It's funny because that's how I felt when you laughed in our interview. And then you said I was funny, and I put it, it's in my, I think my Instagram bio.
Oh, really?
I have the quote, something about me being funny, John Oliver.
Yeah,
so,
I think, yeah.
But it's that kind of humor, I think while I liked Veep, the thick of it for me was, I don't know.
Yeah.
Malcolm and what's the actor? Peter Capaldi, I think, right?
He swears symphonically.
Right, which I do too.
Yes.
I try to curb myself, but which I love to do. But there's
I'm at the point now. Our kids are getting an age where they definitely shouldn't be swearing. But I think we're about to shift into the point where my advice with cursing is going to be that if you curse, you should do it really well.
Yeah.
Like, don't do it in a lazy way. Do it in a way that has some music behind it. And oh man, Peter
How
Capaldi.
old are your kids?
They are now 9 and just turned 7.
Okay.
so
That's
it's
my
early.
niece and nephew are 7 and 9.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying they should be swearing now. I'm just saying they should be thinking about it for
No.
the time at which it's.
I've
appropriate.
had 2 funny experiences. So one is I have a plate, like a painted plate that has in this sort of cursive writing, and it says "Home Sweet Fucking Home," and my niece was like, "Home sweet, what's that word?"
Yes. We have a different relationship to the C word in
Oh,
England.
okay.
Here.
Yes.
And
Oh.
I have been sent like key rings or things with that word on it that as they became
Cunt.
able.
That is the
cunt.
word.
We're
Cunt.
talking about cunt.
We're going to say cunt
We're
in
gonna
here.
we're gonna be talking about cunt. There is, and I will never forget. I at least have a key ring with the word. And it was from the woman who runs. Do you know that place Tea and Sympathy in the West Village?
Yes,
with the English
yes,
food?
of course.
I walked in to get some Christmas crackers from there one year, and she said, "I've got something that is absolutely makes me think of you every time I see it." And she handed me this key ring with the word "cunt" written in wood. So I loved it. Put it on my desk at home, and it was. I realised that they were getting better at reading when one of them walked up and said, "Dada, what is this? Cunt?" He went, "Oh shit! Oh, there's another one."
No, but that's actually my favorite. The thick of it scene was when it was it Malcolm's birthday and the Prime Minister gave him a cake and it said,
Yes.
"Happy birthday, cunt." And then Malcolm says, "Well, this could be from a lot of people."
Yeah, well, that's just objectively very
Yeah.
good.
No, it was the other one I had is I have a so my best friend from college, we have that with, oh God, now I'm really going to get it, with the word dick.
Mm-hmm.
So we got these mugs in LA that said, "Don't be a dick." And I was drinking from my mug when I was FaceTiming with my niece, and my sister-in-law was there. And my niece goes, "Don't be a dick." And we're like, "Millie, where did you learn that?" And she goes, "Auntie Munka's cup." And it was like, oh, okay.
I mean,
one more thing now to think about.
It's not the worst life lesson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't be a dick look, you can try and soften it with less punchy words, but the lesson loses something from just the,
Yeah.
don't
No.
be a dick, helpfully monosyllabic. You
Right.
could, if you were British, say don't be a cunt.
Yeah.
The rule applies. I just don't know if American ears
No.
are ready to hear that
They don't.
yet.
No. It's like we'll take away all rights, all women's rights to their body.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
All their things.
No
but
shit.
Do not call
not
women cunts. Do not use the C word. That is just too offensive.
That's
Too
right.
dumb to make your own, decisions about your body and all sorts of other.
Yeah.
But no, are your kids like? Are your kids funny? If you're comfortable talking about
Yeah.
it, some people,
Yeah, they, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Hope so. God, if they weren't, that would be a problem.
Yeah. Wow, that would be really hard. That would be really hard if you were a comedian and you're like, "Fuck, my kid is not funny."
Yeah, that's right. Holy shit, this kid. And the worst thing is he thinks he is, and it's brutal to watch.
Yeah.
I think also, I guess the reason why it will be such a nightmare is it is in so many ways the way that I communicate with people. Because you can cut through, you can communicate faster and deeper, I think, if you are both laughing at the same thing.
Yeah.
I do like a residency at the Beacon with Seth Meyers.
Yeah.
And so we see each other once a month. We tend to just laugh a lot when we're talking to each other because you're almost going fast. Like, I haven't seen him for a month. You're going to laugh as much as you can, make fun of as many things as you can. That feels like a deeper connection to me. Similarly with my kids, I think, when you were saying like you feel best when you're laughing, I think you want to feel that way with your kids or anyone that you're close to, right? I think it's the same instinct as saying, climbing out of a window when my granddad was dying. I would rather that we laugh together. If this is the last time that we're going to be together, I'd rather that we laughed. Because that's better.
I mean, I've had moments, I think, I can't think of an example, but I can think of the feeling where I've just gone, something funny will come in my head and I'll think, "Oh, but it's too funny."
Yeah.
It's too funny. Not
Yep.
like they'll appreciate the humor there, and that's what the phrase "too soon" is for. So
Yeah,
That's
too soon is subjective. I'm not
yeah.
Too soon to who exactly?
Yeah. No. It's and then so now is Kate your wife? Is she? Do you guys have similar sense of humor?
Definitely, and also like she was in the army, right? So she fought in a war. So
Wow.
they have a dark sense of humor as well. Because again, how are you going to get through a war otherwise?
Yeah.
So she tends to like each Veterans Day can be a tough day, right? And I can't understand the things that they went through viscerally. It helped. I went on a USO tour years ago to at least get the sense of the camaraderie over there, and then I could see why it was so addictive to her, that world. And on Veterans Day, they just get together and they just sit in a sequence of bars and laugh.
Yeah.
It is both a somber thing to do, and they'll normally have sore throats from laughing the next day, right? That feels to me like a good way to deal with something incredibly dark. Have people that you fully understand each other, at which point, if you fully understand each other, why not just laugh and have the most fun you possibly can?
Yeah.
Her relationship with comedy is similar in that way, is that she's been drawn to it at moments of darkness, probably not to the extreme that I am.
Yeah.
But
that's probably a good thing for your kids.
I think it's probably safer that way. But I totally empathize with the way that her and her veteran friends deal with difficult days.
Yeah. It's it's interesting. Do you feel like her sort of coming to understand patriotism through her lens, like has that impacted?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm trying to think what the really honest answer to that is, because I find certain representations of American patriotism borderline psychotic, to be honest.
I get that.
And I think there is a danger in thinking of yourself as the good guy all the time, because it doesn't reflect who you are, like as a country. It doesn't reflect who any country is. That said, when I became an American citizen, it was a meaningful moment to me. I did feel like I wanted to be an American citizen because I felt like I belonged here. That's a very dangerous thing to feel if you don't legally fully belong here.
Right.
I remember I used to go back and forth between London and New York a lot early on in the Daily Show. Like every time we had a break, I'd go home, see friends. And I remember landing in New York, thinking to myself, literally as the wheels slows down, oh, it's nice to be home. And then you realize, oh, shit, if that's true, I might need to think about what that means. And it was incredibly tense. That immigration experience is tough, even if you have the best version of it. And there's no doubt I had the best version of it. I had like Viacom lawyers.
Right.
At that point when I was with the Daily Show, then I finally got my citizenship in 2019, at the end of 2019. But I realized I thought about it every day. Somewhere at the back of my head was my immigration status. At no point was it not somewhere in my mind. And I have to remind myself now, with all these stories going on.
It's so hard.
It brings something out of you, right? It's there, that anxiety that I thought I'd moved past that day that I got my citizenship. I thought it would be gone then. It didn't feel that. The relief didn't feel enough.
I've had a sense of understanding a tiny, tiny bit that I empathize with the immigrants who are going through the crisis right now, right? Ice fuckers.
Yep.
Yeah. And just of feeling hunted, like a feeling unsafe, of like something could happen at any moment. Now, for me, the hunting was, the consequences of that were nowhere near what they're suffering. But
I see what you mean.
But I've had that of, being, whether it's being recognized or paparazzi, or there's something, a feeling of unsafety wherever you are. And probably a lot of women feel that in general. I'm not sure I'm making sense right now, but
no, I think you're making total sense. I think that idea of like attention being weaponized, that feels like there's a lot of crossover there.
Do you, like, has that, being an immigrant, being someone who's now gotten their citizenship here, do you feel differently about what's happening? Or you
I don't know if I feel differently about it. I find that when I talk to immigrants, I was literally talking to the parents of a little kid that I know yesterday, and we very quickly ended up like talking about forms, experiences, interviews. It's really hard. And so I can get sent back to the anxiety that I felt for a long time very quick. It is not far from the surface.
Yeah.
And it does feel personal. It's one of the things I get really mad about, and therefore want to use on our show to show Americans who may have heard things like come in the right way, just do things the right way, and not fully understand just how antithetical that is to the process that actually exists, and that has been either designed or neglected into the state that it's in. It feels worth trying to show people how hard it is.
I also feel, too, I feel so much frustration. Maybe I don't read enough news or listen to enough things, but I feel like we don't hear enough about the fact that there was a fucking bipartisan immigration bill ready to pass last year.
Yeah.
You know? And so that feels like that was, I don't even know what the details of it were, so whether I would have been politically aligned with it or not. But to me, anytime I hear bipartisan, I sort of get tingly because it's just so rare. And so you just sort of think about that we were close to finding something that would have been a step forward. So it's not
a
like
step forward,
right?
It wasn't going to end up where you wanted, but
right.
A step forward is always better than where you are, right?
Where we are right now.
Oh,
I mean, which I think
sure.
is pretty unimaginable for many. I mean, at least it was unimaginable to me that we would be rounding people up in our country like this.
Yes. I think it felt imaginable to me, partly because they, like, weirdly, in the Trump administration's defense, they've said all of this out loud. Like, they've said it. And I think it's very convenient for people to not believe it, because then it feels like you can vote for them and think, I didn't. Sure, I voted for you, but I didn't vote for
that.
For people, for that, for people being chased across fields. Well, no, you did, though, because I can't believe I'm defending them, but they did say this. They said all of it. You just chose not to believe some of it. Yeah, it's rough to watch.
Yeah.
Do
you? It's interesting. What come up for me a little is thinking about when I moved to the UK. One of the things that I found really surprising and interesting and maybe a little bizarre was just how implicit the culture is. Like, to fit in, you have to observe, right? Like, that's how I felt. I feel like the States, it's very explicit. Do this, don't do this. There's a sign that will tell you. That in the UK, right, somebody, when I moved there and someone said, when someone says you must stay for another drink, it means you've overstayed your welcome, And so, like, that was, or you could get food to go, you could get takeaway, right? But at the time when I was there, so pre-Olympics, right, you wouldn't see people drinking their takeaway coffee or eating their takeaway food. I would eat my takeaway food on the bus or the tube, and I'd be like, "Oh, nobody else is doing this."
Yeah.
But you only know that because if you look around, and so
that's a really fair criticism.
I'm not saying it's a criticism per se. It's just it was
sure.
like the observation.
It's an observation.
Right. It was the observation, and so I just wonder about with like the difference in politics, and do you know.
I think that might be more to do with just centuries of repression. No one feels like they can tell anyone what to do. It's just that you should already know, which is, passive aggressive in its own way.
Okay.
Because, you're right. That is a crazy to say to someone, you must stay for another drink. Using the word must and then be disappointed when they do. That feels like that's a you problem, not a their problem. But that's, I think there are just like incredible gradations of subtlety with British repression, where you're supposed to try and find your way through it. Like, as an outsider, I speak British repression fluently, so it all makes sense to me. But as an outsider, I can see that is completely incoherent.
Yeah, it's just. I think if you're someone who has a lot of social anxiety, which I do, that you want to fit in, you know, so you want to make sure you're doing the right thing, and
do you know what? Actually, I found that's interesting. That was your experience as an immigrant. I found coming here almost calming in that way because I didn't feel like I necessarily fit in England. So if you go somewhere where you're not supposed to fit in, all of a sudden it doesn't feel like your
right
fault anymore.
Yeah,
like you're not supposed to. So therefore you can just exist in it. No one should. The problem is you went to Britain where the assumption is actually no, you should go out of your way for this to be a seamless transition. In America, I found it much easier because no one expected you to fit in. The moment you open your mouth, you're an outsider. Right.
I think as we wrap up, I wanted to know, how is the sewage plant going?
It's still there. That was the first time I'd seen members of my staff during the pandemic.
Oh, really?
At all.
Oh, okay.
It was in that contagion
and
suit.
that was, you bought a...
I can't remember what the show was about. And one of our writers, Owen, had just written a drive-by joke about Danbury. And then the mayor responded and said that they were going to...
rename it,
That's
right?
They were going to rename it the Memorial Sewer Plant, which is very good.
No, the John Oliver.
That's right, John Oliver Memorial Sewer Plant. And I think at that time we were trying to find ways to launder HBO's budget to various charities as well. And so it felt like that was another opportunity. And I remember being so disappointed in myself by being surprised by how bad that place smelled.
Oh, yeah.
You don't get to say this is surprisingly unpleasant to be around when you're standing inside a sewage plant.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still there. It's still there.
And then now Russell Crowe also, right? He, as a joke, right?
As a joke.
Something chlamydia award.
John Oliver, that's not a memorial thing. John Oliver Koala Chlamydia Award.
Koala. I forgot the koala part.
Monica, chlamydia is a massive problem with koalas.
No, really?
It's a huge issue, which is both funny and dark. Yes, they are. Koalas are under existential threat due to chlamydia.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So there is a ward at the Sydney Zoo in my name that is treating koalas for chlamydia.
Russell Crowe.
Right. That was, again, a moment of incredible connection. We had bought he was having a divorce auction.
Okay.
And we bought his jockstrap from the movie Cinderella Man. And he responded to that by using the money to start sponsoring this. And I was so impressed.
Yeah.
I thought differently about Russell Crowe.
Was that before or after the sewage plant?
Before.
Oh, okay. So he started the trend.
He started the trend.
Okay.
He did that.
I'm going to have to figure out how to top them.
It's pretty difficult.
Yeah.
Like,
here's your Alan Oliver mug.
It's a really... That koala chlamydia is just... It's the perfect use of money, especially because it's such a genuine problem. It's such a funny, awful problem.
New.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And only through this petty sniping across a divorce auction. And it was so great. And yeah, similarly, the mayor of Danbury, I did not think that they were going to handle that as well as they did.
Yeah, well done.
It's kind of weirdly life-affirming.
Yes, yeah. So the last question I ask everybody is if there is anything that you are working on reclaiming. And we use a really elastic definition on the show of, getting something back that was lost or taken. Oh, no.
I was just thinking, asking a British person what they're thinking of reclaiming is a very dangerous road to go down. We lost India. I think there's a whole bunch of places that we lost 2/3 of the world's landmass. I think if we're playing the long game, we're looking to reclaim that. India, I think.
That you personally, India. No, you know what's going to happen? They're now going to call it John Oliver's India. Get a call from the PM.
I don't know if I'm trying to... I don't know if reclaiming. I don't think so.
Okay. Fair enough.
I think anything that I've lost is better gone. I was going to say dignity, but again, you lose.
Yeah. Dignity is, I was just having a conversation with someone about why we don't anchor things in our world around dignity more.
Really?
I just think I wish we did. It just feels so important to me.
Yeah. I guess one of the things you learn I remember there was a stand-up in England years ago that said to me something on the way to a gig when I was starting off. He said, once you've bombed 100 times on stage, you'll be fine, because there is nothing an audience can take from you after that. And I gotta say, he was kind of right, because I think to lots of people, watching a stand-up bomb is, you get that awful sense of, oh my God, this is a nightmare.
Yeah.
But there is nothing, there's nothing left. Like, your dignity has been so shredded from doing stand-up that it weirdly kind of slightly inoculates you to the audience lose their power to hurt you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know what? I had Sarah Silverman on the show, and she was talking about how she was a bedwetter, like till really late in her, and that the humiliation that came from that inoculated. It was like, oh, stand up. I think
it's kind of true. I think that it gives you this weird false bravado, because you just can't. I've lost my dignity on stage so many times that there's either nothing left or there's nothing left to take. Yeah. So I'd say I'd reclaim dignity, but I think I might have lost that above a pub in Moseley years ago on the 99th gig that went horrendously wrong.
Oh, John Allen Jacks Cunt Oliver. This has been so great. Thank you so much. Thanks for doing this.
Of course, this was an absolute pleasure.
Oh, good.